I have great pleasure in introducing to you Vida Echetabu, who is a certified wealth manager. Vida today is going to be speaking to us about VUCA proofing your wealth. For those of you who, similar to me, have no idea what VUCA means, I'm sure many of you do, I didn't, and I spoke to Vida yesterday and I said, what does this stand for? And she goes, it stands for volatility, uncertainty, chaos, and ambiguity, and proofing our wealth against that. So let me introduce Vida to you, and then I'm sure she will be able to tell you a lot more about this. So Vida is a distinguished wealth manager with nearly 2 decades of experience in the financial services industry, specializing in high net worth wealth management, business development, strategy, and communication. Vida has demonstrated exceptional professional acumen and a track record of success. Having excelled as a private and investment banker, strategic relationship manager, wealth manager, and regional manager, Vida has navigated various sectors, including SMEs, conglomerates, federal, and Lagos State, with poise and effectiveness. Noteworthy achievements include spearheading the pioneering projects such as the Stanbic IBTC Pension Quarterly HNI newsletter and the Ladies at the Table Empowerment Series for female clients. Vida has also played a pivotal role as an anchor and compere for diverse Stanbic IBTC programs and initiatives. In her role as the founder and consultant general of Fourth Avenue Limited, a reputable business consulting LLC, Vida leverages her expertise, experiences, and networks to deliver tailored solutions of the highest caliber to clients. Drawing on its pillars of advisory, brokerage, and communication, Fourth Avenue serves clients across a variety of industries, including financial services, venture capital, manufacturing, and media. So Vida, welcome. We look forward to learning from you. Over to you, Vida.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Hina. Thank you very much for that very warm welcome. And while I am speaking, I am going to go right ahead and share my slides. All right, please confirm that we can all see my slides.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so you guys know that I'm not always well behaved. So I need some activity in the chat room. I need emojis. I need reactions. I need us to do like we normally do. That's how we say it in Lagos, Nigeria. Let's do like we do. The majority of us are from there. Okay, so let's get it all going. And we're used to things being quite intense in Nigeria. So VUCA proofing is not a big deal. We'll take it up. All right. Okay, so I'm speaking this evening on VUCA Proof Your Wealth, which is something that I think whether you're in West Africa, whether you're in, thank you very much, I'm seeing emojis, yes. Whether you're in West Africa, whether you're in East Africa, whether you're in the UK, in the US, South Africa, wherever you are, we're all dealing with what we would say is a VUCA situation, okay? And that means that we're dealing with volatility, we're dealing with uncertainties, we're dealing with chaos, we're dealing with ambiguity. And that is me just saying that, you know what, we're together on this journey. Nobody has it all totally figured out. And so what the objective of this session, my session is that by the time we are done with this session, I would want to believe that you would be able to identify the behaviors that have put us in a situation that has exposed our wealth to VUCA. And so you would identify those behaviors and the ones that require correction or a little bit of improvement. The other thing you would also achieve, I expect you to achieve at the end of this session, is that you will identify actions that will help you VUCA proof. So one is to identify the bad behavior that got us into this situation, and the other would be to identify the tools that should get us out of that situation. Those are the two objectives of this session, okay? Now, this is VUCA. And hopefully this image paints that picture, that we want to secure our resources as possible, as much as possible. Okay, now, if you leave me, I can keep talking because wealth is something that I truly enjoy. You know, I love making money. I love talking about money. Money is my friend. I am friends with money. So this is my playground. I'm happy when there's money in the conversation. I wake up from sleep immediately. Okay. All right. So what I have decided to do is talk about it under 3 broad syndromes. And the first of the syndromes would be arresting the bandwagon. Now, if we are honest with ourselves, their investment decisions, their wealth decisions that we made that resulted purely because everybody appeared to be doing it. Everybody was, you know, talking like they knew about it, like the investment started in their backyards, you know, and they discussed it on their coffee tables, and everybody was doing it, and it was all that. And so we joined the bandwagon, and that's a dangerous thing to do. Now, the truth is, in order to make investment decisions, we typically need to hear about it from somewhere, no doubt. However, we should be cautious about the bandwagon. Now, the question I would ask is, why do we fall for this bandwagon thing all the time? And the answer is simple. FOMO. Who knows what FOMO is? Put it in the chat room. Do we know what FOMO is? Put it in the chat room. It's fear of missing out. I think I'm getting some feedback somewhere. If the admin could please just check amongst the participants and mute, I would appreciate that very much.
Thank you. We possibly have a very excited child eager to learn very early on, Vida. Why not?
About money.
About money. Absolutely.
I know. All right. You know, and FOMO does something. It puts you under pressure because you are afraid of missing out on this big magical investment. Whether it's a good investment or a bad investment, the bandwagon has that effect. Look at the image on the screen. It's larger than life. It's attractive. It's so loud. It's noisy. You just get sucked into the vibes of that particular investment. And it puts you in a precarious situation because you end up possibly going into debt because you really want to just be among, you want to belong to this, you know, this movement. You want to be amongst the people that are said, you know, they were the first movers advantage. They're the ones who got in early, they, you know, and all. But in wealth management, there is a place for speed, but precision and accuracy override speed in wealth management. Precision, accuracy, sustainability, they all override speed. Speed has its place, but no need speeding into a situation that can land you in debt or loss. Now, again, another thing that the bandwagon effect could do is that you are not able to match your resources accordingly. Again, so what happens when you need money now, but you know you will have money in 2 weeks? So there will be a consistent gap in your flow because you're just wanting to rush in and get into this investment because you do not want to miss out. Now, if you listen to me carefully, and this is what will be on the screen per topic. You're not going to see bullet points of a breakdown somewhere because I want you to engage with me. So you're going to hear me talk about the problems the cost. And in that same breath, you will hear me talk about the solutions as well, because this is essentially a masterclass. There is very little I can cover in detail here, but you will get value for your time if you pay attention. So put away distractions and let's do this. Now, the bandwagon effect does two things. It can lead you to debt. So you also need to understand your cash flow. You can find out about a good, solid investment, but it's important you understand your cash flow. It's also important that you understand your risk appetite. You know, because when things are sounding so amazing and wonderful and you want to get in there, and when they're talking about it, a lot of times they sell the upsides, they don't sell the full picture. And it's important that you know the full picture, because for every reward, there is responsibility. So a lot of times, and in my career, we have seen people say, oh, they didn't know, they were not aware, you know, they just, it didn't, you know, nobody told them because they jumped on the bandwagon. They didn't stop to ask the right questions. Okay, so for sake of time, I'm going to talk about the next syndrome, which is the kitchen sink syndrome. A lot of us, our investments are as modeled up, tacky, untidy, exactly like how this kitchen sink looks in this image. And the reason I say so is because this kitchen sink syndrome is closely tied to multiple streams of income and closely tied to diversified portfolio, which are principles of wealth management. Sammy discussed yesterday about multiple streams of income. Now, there is a fine line between multiple streams of income and the kitchen sink syndrome. Now, let me break this down a little bit. A lot of us have found ourselves in situations like this as a result of the first thing we discussed, the bandwagon effect. So we have, you know, invested in all manners of little things here and there. Oh, they said this is good, you just put a little money there. Oh, you said this is wonderful, you put a little money there. And all we're doing is essentially speculating without a method, without a plan, without an agenda. And that is, that's almost like gambling in a manner of speaking, because you just want to put out things so that just in case that's the one that, you know, strikes gold, you're there. But when you diversify your portfolio, it's meant to have, there's a story it has to tell. There's a story it should tell. And the story can change for different phases of our lives. But nonetheless, there should be a story. This kitchen sink that we are looking at tells no story other than irresponsibility and untidiness and carelessness, really. There's no other story this kitchen sink is telling us. And so in addressing the kitchen sink, you have to know what it is you have or what it is you want to get into in terms of investments. Then you also need to know why you want to get into those particular types of investments. And then you need to also be aware of the timeline or the seasons for each of those investments. Now, I paint a picture for you. When somebody wants to invest in, let's assume, shares or stocks, and the person is in their 20s, in their 30s, even in their 40s, they would know that the value they would get, the returns, the reward, the yield, all those things speak to the benefits of investing in shares or stocks, as the case may be. They would know that it comes a little bit further down the line, generally speaking, because share stocks are all long-term investments and have high volatility, high risk. Now, if I see somebody who wants to invest in stocks in their 50s and 60s, and they do not have a very robust financial status, I would ask them to apply caution. Because how long would they be willing to wait in order to get the benefits of that investment? So again, it will boil back to, why are you doing this? When or why are you doing this, madam? It could be because they're planning for their children. Then that makes some sense. So you see why we have to go back to the why of your investment and what you're getting into. You must settle down and curate, okay? And then the next thing I will talk about is the grilling, the microwave bias. Now, this is where a lot of people have, in this fast-paced world that we're living in, we just wake up one morning and somebody posts something on Instagram and says, oh, I did this, and in 3 months, I had hit 100,000 US dollars. I became a millionaire essentially in 1 year, you know, and that's like expecting your wealth to be as robust and juicy as the chicken below, made at the speed of a popcorn. It doesn't match. I agree that there are exceptions. There are people who time, chance, opportunity, everything just happened for, boom. But those are exceptions. And those are exceptions based on the information they have told us as well. We often don't have the full picture. So I'm yet to find a chef worth their salt who has made a tasty, delicious chicken in a microwave. I'm yet to find that person. They may thaw it from the freezer in the microwave, but when they want to make or cook the chicken, it's never in the microwave. Never in the microwave. They may reheat it if it's already made in the microwave, but it's never in the microwave. And that tells us about the journey of wealth. Now, a number of people have been VUCAized with their wealth when it pertains to this thing, get rich quick schemes, where they tell you, if you just get in today, get out tomorrow. I put in 50,000 Naira, I put in 500 pounds, I put in $500, and within 2 weeks, I had this. A lot of times it is highly risky and often ends in heartbreak. Now, again, I'm speaking on a very general, very general basis. There are investments, if depending on your risk profile, that can yield you certain things. But I have done a little bit of behavioral finance. The average human being doesn't remember the profits they have made when they make just one loss. The average human will keep recalling and, mourning the loss of $5,000, even though they have made $500,000. And so to monitor this, you must pause. There is a place for self-control. You must tell yourself that I want to watch my cash flow. I want to find out more about this investment. I want to address certain concerns. Now, let me tell you a little story because I like to paint pictures. It brings it to life. I had a client many years ago when I was still in paid employment, and for him to have been my client, then you would know that he had quite a lot of money. There's a high net worth individual. And, once in a while, he'll come and say, Vida, you people's rates are not doing, as great and not as competitive and this and that, and that he was going to move his money. So one day he showed me one flyer that they told him about this and he's going to do this and that and that. And I looked at this flyer carefully. On that flyer, they gave him returns above industry rate, returns above what the government was giving, above every known, benchmark available. And I asked him, I said, sir, if you need to move your money, I will advise you not to, but the decision ultimately remains yours. However, just before you move, because I've looked at this thing you've told me, they haven't said where they are investing your money in order to give you these returns. They haven't said what they do and where it is. And I had the conversation with him. I said, look, just ask them for these questions. Make these inquiries. Let's not be so triggered by, oh, the returns is going to be 50%, especially when it's also not a brand that you recognize that has also been approved by regulatory bodies. Let's just suffice to say that he never came back to me with that information. He never moved his money. If anything at all, he inflowed additional funds, which I was tempted to, ask him to say, but I felt that it would jar on his pride, so I left it alone. And I believe that him and I both had a full and firm understanding. Now, these are key things that I would like for you to go away with. That in as much as you're trying to diversify, in as much as you're trying to get multiple streams of income, in as much as you're trying to make sure that you are secure and that the inflation isn't eaten away or tax isn't eaten away at your wealth, note that not every investment is for you. Not every investment is for you because some of those investments will not match your risk profile. And you would not be able to sleep at night. It's critical that the investments that we make should help us sleep at night and actually not keep us awake at night. Another thing you must note and should note is that not every investment is for you now. Meaning that if your cash flow does not allow for it at this particular point in time, it can wait a little bit. And apart from your cash flow, it is also important that you understand the reward cycle of that investment so that you know when you're expecting to get profits. For instance, again, if you do shares or treasury bills, you know that you're either you get dividends annually, biannually, or you get your discount notes annually or biannually. And then after everything is said and done, you are the ruler of your own life. Of course, aside from the Lord, you are the governor of your own affairs. So you need to tell yourself that you must mature. When we were children, we behaved like children. Now we are adults getting our acts together, cleaning up and showing up the right way, then we will behave accordingly. So we must mature. The next thing is, I know most of us grew up hearing cash is king, cash is king. It's been updated. Cash flow is now king. Because if you run a business, for instance, you would realize that it's not just cash, it's having cash when you need it. When you need money for an investment, or you need money for salaries, you need money for obligations. And even if you don't run a business, if it's time for your house rent, if it's time for your mortgage payment or your car notes, you need it at specific times. And that speaks to cash flow. Again, remember the what, the why, the when of investments. And now this particular one is more targeted towards the older people amongst us, the more mature. But it doesn't hurt to start early. Consolidation is key. After this session, I hope that we will go back and create a spreadsheet, a notebook, whatever, and start detailing all our respective investments that we have done everywhere. What's happening in the chat room? That place is looking quiet. What's happening there? Please, I need responses and reactions there. Anyways, yes. Go back and track all your many investments and know the ones that you're going to build up and infuse into, and the ones that you want to let go of. Take the returns. Yay, I'm seeing reactions. Take the returns and invest in places that are relevant to you now or where you want to go. There is no need having investments that do not match your realities now. Maybe you bought those investments 20 years ago when you started working, or 15 years ago, or 10 years ago, or you have now even relocated. It's no longer relevant to you. Review and consolidate. And now that brings me back to what we said the objectives would be. By a show of hands, by comments in the chat room, please confirm that you are now able to identify the behaviors that got you into an exposed situation, you and your funds. And then also confirm that as a result of this time together, you now are able to identify specific actions, be it 1, 2, or 3, or more, that you can take in order to VUCA-proof your investments. I will pause now for some questions, or a question after now, but these are my handles. Please do well. Fourth Avenue and Vida are quite active on LinkedIn. So if you search Fourth Avenue, if you search Vida Echetabu, you will find me there. If there are questions you may have, or opportunities or places you think that I can provide the services of trainings, consultation, strategy, those are my numbers, business and personal, right there. And if you prefer to send an email, for you at fourthavenuegroup.com. And in case you just want to find out more generally about Fourth Avenue, that's our website. Okay. I will go back here and ask for questions.
Thank you, Vida. Very, very powerful stuff, Vida. I think I loved your analogies with the microwave and the kitchen sink. It really brings it to the fore. But I think your final slide for me was it. Consolidation is key. I think we have time for a quick question, Vida, if that's okay. And it's actually from one of our listeners in the chat. And they say, kindly re-explain the consolidation concept, please.
Okay, beautiful. The consolidation concept is simple. In the course of your career, maybe you even a trust fund baby, I don't know. You have probably bought, let's say, a piece of land here, some shares there, you have mutual funds there, you have sprinkling of investments all over the place. Maybe you even bought it when you were not in your current location. Now is the time to settle down with a piece of paper and a pen, or your laptop or your tablet, whichever is best for you, and identify all your investments. And then look at your life where you are right now. Look at your life where you want to be in the next phase and then the phase after then, vis-a-vis what the investments you have are. If there is anyone there that is no longer relevant to your life anymore, it was relevant in the past, dispose of it, get whatever value you can from there and invest in what is relevant to you now and where you are going in the future. Again, it's not a one-off thing. It's something that you are going to have to review every couple of years. Maybe every 5 years would be a fair enough average, because again, we live life in phases. I hope that has helped.
That most certainly has. Thank you, Vida. And Vida, there are a few more questions on the chat, and I know we are out of time, but if you would be so kind as to highlight them on the chat and respond to them, we would be extremely grateful. Can I have a round of applause, everybody, for Vida? And please show your reactions on the chat.